So in this video I'm going to try and shed a bit of light on the Parkside tool brand. Parkside, for the uninitiated, it is the tool brand of that ubiquitous German supermarket chain Lidl. And as you can see, I've bought quite a few of these Parkside tools over the years. And really the purpose of this video is to let you know if they are worth your money or not, and whether you should buy them. I should preface this video as well by the fact that these are cheap tools, but I do have, most of my experience is actually on expensive tools. For 3 years or more, I worked in a factory workshop where we were dealing with timber products and plastic products, and the majority, there's about 20 people working in the workshop, the majority of the tools in the workshop were made up of Makita. Probably about 80% Makita, 15% Milwaukee, and 5% DeWalt is probably the makeup of the shop. So most of my tool time is actually on expensive Makita tools, as well as some industrial tools like panel saws and things like that. But as you can see, I pretty much have my very small little shed, 150-year-old cow shed, kitted out with pretty much mostly Parkside tools. This is in fact just a small selection of them here on my bench. I do have a few more, and lots of things like drill bits and saw blades and things like that purchased from them. One of the first tools I actually bought from Parkside was this 20-volt electric drill. And it's one of the reasons I probably started buying more of them, because as I mentioned, most of my tool time experience with drills, use of drills, have been Makita ones. The Makita equivalent of this drill, if you were to buy the Makita with the charger, it comes with a charger and a case and 2 batteries. I think it's going to set you back about €200 for that Makita drill, 2 batteries and a charger. This drill, without the battery, mind, was $19.99. And this drill I've had for many years. I'm trying to remember how long. It's 4 or 5 years I've had this, and I've put it through a lot of hard work. Still runs. The chuck is wearing out a little bit. It's a little bit grindy. I've put it through some one particularly hot supper. I put it through. It actually started smoking out the vents because I was running it very hard, doing a job that was under time pressure because glue was setting, and I ran it so hard it started smoking out all the vents. And ironically, the only thing that failed on it was the cooling fan melted off the back of the motor. But that was about a year ago, and this thing still works fine. I use it pretty much every day I'm in the shop. And that really set me off buying more and more Parkside tools, because for $19.99 I was extremely impressed by that drill. Is it as good as the Makita? No, of course it's not as good as equivalent drill, probably without the battery. Without the battery, the Makita is going to cost you €100 anyway. But is the Makita drill 5 times better than that? Absolutely not. And that's where the sort of value for money of Parkside comes in. Now, if you're someone who makes their living from using power tools, I would recommend you buy one of the big brands. Buy DeWalt, Makita, Milwaukee, something like that. Get one of the big brands. But if you're a person like me who has a small little workshop, or you have a shed and you need to pick up a drill, this Parkside stuff is by and large worth your money. It's hard to go wrong with the price of things. There are exceptions. So one exception, if I go down here you'll see under this workbench everything's sitting on, it's actually a custom built table saw I made, which I might do another video at some stage in the future. I built some custom fences and things like that for some of the some interesting stuff. But this table saw, if you could call it that, that's underneath here, which I've modified into my homemade table saw. I bought this. It was sold in Lidl. Again, it was about 100 a book. I think it was 100. I think it was between 80 and 90 euros. And it was sold as a sort of mini job site table saw. Now I've used the DeWalt job site table saws before, and they're pretty good. They're of course 3 times the price of this. This Parkside table saw was terrible. Probably best described as a extremely lethal child's toy. It was, you couldn't do any real work on it because it was inaccurate. The bed that was on top of it wasn't flat. The blade wasn't square. The blade wasn't particularly sharp. You could only do cuts up to about 400 mil, 350 mil on it. Anyway, it was by and large terrible, and it was quite surprising to me compared to the drill I bought, exactly how terrible it was. I was trying to figure out how was the same people that sold me that drill sold me this sort of joke of a table saw. And that's when I got into some research into who is actually making these Parkside tools. And they're made by, it's hard to narrow down, they're made by a bunch of different people. So that table saw that I mentioned, that is manufactured by some cheap manufacturing factory in China. And I know that because I actually found that table saw on AliExpress, which, if you're not aware of AliExpress, it's basically the Chinese version of Amazon. And it was just in a red color, and it didn't have a Parkside badge on it. It just didn't have any badge at all. So that is just some crappy table saw that they were getting out of a factory in China. Now, some of the other stuff here, I mean, these drills, having said that, practically everything is manufactured in China these days, including the big brand power tools. Even your Milwaukees, which are famously American, most of their stuff, I believe, is manufactured in Taiwan these days, and parts of mainland China. But not all Parkside tools are created equal, and that got me into researching where they come from. Now, you'll see if you have any Parkside tools, on a lot of their labels, you will see, can I find one? No, it doesn't say it on that. Does it say it on this? Yeah, so you'll see on that label there, it says, if it will focus, it says Campernas. If you can see that, it will focus. Yeah, Campernas. So you'll see that on a lot of tools. Now, not all of them, but and again, this is my own experience. But if you see Campernas written on the Parkside tool, it's generally of the better quality ones I've found so far. Now, Campernas aren't a manufacturer; they seem to be more so a German distributor and service department for Parkside tools. One of the interesting things I found is there's a company called Einhell in Germany, which is a cheap German tool manufacturer. They make decent quality tools at decent prices. You will notice if you go onto their website, a lot of their tools look very, very similar to these Parkside tools, except they've got red paint instead of green paint. But a lot of even the molding, the molding on their drills and their jigsaws and things like that, pretty very, very close or the same as some of the molding parts on these Parkside tools. So my guessing is that Lidl have contracted Einhell to put together a lot of their tools. The Einhell, so often when I'm looking at a Parkside tool in Lidl that I'm thinking of buying, one of the first things I do is I go onto the Einhell website and see do Einhell manufacture a version of it. And you'll often find it looks, there'll be a Parkside drill coming into Lidl and it looks nearly identical to the Einhell tool on the website, except one's green and one's red. So that's usually a good indicator I have that it's going to be a good quality Parkside tool rather than a poor quality one like the table saw I showed. So that's that's what I'm pretty sure is going on for a lot of the tools. Lidl are contracting Einhell to manufacture them in Germany. Some of them they are sourcing from poor quality Chinese factory outlets, like the table saw, and that pillar drill. It's actually reasonably good. That bandsaw there, as you can see, it's a mini bandsaw. It's probably the smallest type of bandsaw you can get. Kind of Mickey Mouse. Definitely not manufactured by a German manufacturer, but I've done some decent work with it. It works quite well. Other things I suppose to note on Parkside is, in my experience, I've seen some mixed stuff on the internet, but in my experience, their service department and their returns are pretty good. I mean, if you buy a tool in Lidl and you have the receipt and you bring it back and you hand them the receipt and say, I don't like the tool, they don't ask any questions of the tool. They just take the tool back off you and give you your money back. But if something breaks, which happened to me recently with this belt sander. So this belt sander, where is it now? It has a speed control, which you can see there. So the speed control on this belt sander broke on me quite recently when I was doing a job. It just locked onto full speed. Now, I bought the belt sander in 2019 at some stage, and I vaguely remembered that it came with a 3-year warranty, and I think I bought it in early 2019. So I rang Lidl service department and said my belt sander is broken. Is there anything I can do? I think it's still in warranty, even after a few years had elapsed. And they said no problem, and they put me in touch with Campernas, the people on the label I showed a minute ago. And Campernas, they put my service request through to Campernas. Campernas rang me, a representative of theirs rang me about an hour later, asked me what the problem was, asked me for the model number on the belt sander. They said, no problem, we're going to sort that out for you. The next day, a DHL driver arrived to my house, picked up the belt sander from my house. It was shipped back to Germany within 4 days. They checked it out in the factory within an hour. They said, yes, the speed controller is broken, so we're going to send you a replacement. And then about 4 days after that, I had this one, which is the replacement belt sander, which works perfectly. So that's another thing to note about Parkside. In my experience, their repair, replacement, returns is pretty good. Even after you've had a tool for several years, if it breaks, they'll take it back and replace it. And they generally, obviously because Lidl are huge, they have stores in practically every country in the world. They have Campernas in their warehouses in Germany practically have every one of these tools in stock all the time. So if you need a replacement or a repair, they can send it out, whether it's currently in the Lidl stores or not. So I suppose that's kind of in conclusion of this video. Should you buy Parkside or not? If you don't make a living from using power tools, I'd say absolutely yes. If you are what they call a home gamer, if you have a little shed, if you have a little workshop, and you don't use tools for 8 hours a day every day, it is hard to beat them on value. Having said that, they're not all created equal. You can generally tell by looking at the tool even, this is a high quality track saw. I mean, I could tell that by looking at the thing in the shop. And these drills are high quality as well. So some of their stuff is going to be manufactured from some nondescript factory warehouse in China, and it will be crap. If it is crap, just bring it back to your local Lidl, get your money back. But a lot of the tools are just high quality. I would say they're assembled by Einhell in Germany and shipped around the world, and they are extremely good value for money. Yeah, so I guess in conclusion, buy Parkside. Parkside, for the uninitiated, are the tool brand for thing.